We are going to be talking about right now the movies of the decade. Martin, 2019 is almost done. Mm-hmm. We got about, what's the date? December 1st? 4 more weeks, Martin.
Yeah.
Before 2019 dies. You know, we talk about a lot of films, and the real challenge of reviewing movies is actually talking about best of the year.
Sure.
We see so many. Now, think about how hard it is to talk about best of the decade.
It's tough.
That's a lot of movies to scrap through, man. You know, it's like being in a dumpster of movies.
And what's hard is seeing movies that you really love and then not making the cut. And you're like, oh, but I want to include you too.
I could not pick a top 10. I didn't even want to. It's not like everybody think you got to go to 10 for shit. You ain't got to go to 10 all the time.
Yeah.
What is the 10? 10 ain't shit. The hell with 10. I don't care about 10.
It's like, well, I ran out of fingers, so I guess I should stop.
Yeah, just stop. Oh, I got toes. Top 20. Nah, man. You do not always have to go to 10. And I couldn't pick 10 here because, you know, I had to narrow this down to those very, very, very special films that I felt like it was something I had never seen before.
That's what I did. But in my list, I picked films. I was like, all right, this is something different.
Yeah.
It was either so good it completely bowled over everything like it.
Yeah.
Or it's something that's so unique. Most of it is like, I don't know another film I can compare this to.
Exactly. I'll be honest with you. I didn't even get to 5.
Really?
Yeah. No.
I mean you couldn't find 5 that reached that criteria, or you couldn't narrow it down?
I couldn't find 5.
Oh, okay.
I had to. Like I said, man, I was very, 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 very particular about how I picked these movies. I really had to look and say and be honest with myself there, because you're right, Martin. There's a whole lot of movies that I love, man, and I want to put out there. But I had to say, just to really make this something special, I have to pick these movies that I felt like absolutely did something that no other movie was doing for me. And that won't be the experience for everybody else. I got that. If you wouldn't mind, though, I'll go over these movies that I got. I only got 4 of them. And I wouldn't be surprised if these movies were, you know, movies that you feel the same way about. In fact, they are. I've seen your list. Yeah. You gave me a list, too.
I did.
But I picked some of your movies that I did not include.
Okay.
Because I'm very curious to hear how you came to the conclusion on how those are the best of the decade.
Okay.
I'm going to work this from the ones that are probably the most obvious, ones that people have guessed. Work those down to some that people might not have guessed.
Okay.
And then when I get to my bottom, because these aren't even in any kind of order.
Right.
They're all the same. Right. They're all great to me.
Yeah. Right. It's enough to pick them, let alone rank them.
Yeah. And then by the time I get to, you know, number 1, which is not number 1 really, but by the time I get to that last movie, you probably will know what it is. But I'll throw some surprises in there. Maybe I do have 5. I do have 5.
You just said you had 5.
Couldn't even pick 5,
then
Martin.
you came back to 4. I'm like, all right, what happened to that 5th one?
Maybe that one needs to go. Martin's like 5, like this. Get your shit straight. All right. Let's go and get to the one that is probably something that everyone out there can guess would be one of my favorite movies. We are talking about Get Out. Get Out was a movie that shamed us, actually, because we laughed at this.
Sure.
What kind of dumb shit is this? Can you believe this? This has got to be a joke. Oh, there we go. You know, what Jaws did for water, teacups did for black people. And tea.
Can I offer you some tea? Yeah, you like that one.
I hang out with Chris Herman over here, and I tell him, man, whatever you drink, you doing it out of a paper cup. I don't even want to see no plastic spoons.
We'll use it today.
Get Out actually took, and they made it, and they made it into a legit thriller. And I'm sure people share this feeling with me when I say that I have been the only black person in the room, and I looked around and I was like, you know what? If every white person in here lost their mind and turned on me, I'm dead.
Yeah.
I'm dead.
Yeah, well, I mean, I maybe I can speak for you, but I've been to these types of parties and picnics.
In fact, there you are, Martin. Got your hat on there.
He's gonna identify you.
Yeah, they get ready to auction you off, Martin.
But there ones where there was this air of a creepy feeling I couldn't quite put my finger on.
Yeah.
And then to watch this, it's like, oh shit! If I'd stuck around, I would have got auctioned.
You know, but looking at this here, we're joking around, but really they made a legit thriller, man. You know, this is, and the reason why I chose this also because I would have to say that this is probably one of the boldest statements in social commentary that I've seen in this whole decade. In the decade, man. It's something that, you know, I really love this because not only is it good, but it's something that I just never would have thought a studio would have said yes to. A studio would have said, you got your black ass mind, but they never would have said, I thought they'd never say yes.
Social statement, I mean, even though it's in the trailer, you don't think, well, they're not going to go that hard. And they do.
And they do. The script for this film, now I'm just taking the social commentary out. The script for the film is extremely tight, so cleverly written. And the film is so well directed that this is another reason why I put this as one of my best of the decade. I see so many movies that I rarely get to see a movie twice. If I go see a movie twice, that's effort.
Right.
You know, I really have to schedule to see a movie twice. And I saw this 4 times. Because
and I guarantee every time you saw it, you saw something different.
You saw something different. You heard something different. You saw something that you missed that put the story together and made it even better. You know, as I look at this, I really went through it, and it was no matter how much I would say what are the best movies of the decade, this was always at the top of my list because it's like I said, it's barely that I got to see it, and it has nothing to do with the black social message behind it. It's such a well put together film. Jordan Peele must have been thinking about this for years.
Oh yeah, this is a passion project. I mean,
it is.
Yeah.
Oh no, this one's gonna get y'all talking right here, but I'm sure everybody in the room shares this one with me too. The next movie that I had to say. And this is a tricky one right here because I say movie, but let me elaborate. The next movie that I say is one of the best of the decade. Everybody say I ain't cinema punk. Thanos coming out. Now, what you're about to see here, now you're looking at Infinity War, the trailer for Infinity War right here.
Engage all defenses. And get this man a shield.
A shield. What? A shelf? What'd you say? Of course, that is T'Challa from Wakanda, aka Black Panther, speaking right there. Now, this is a package deal.
Yeah.
You know, you got to look at this. You also have to put in with this Endgame.
Yeah, because it's part 1 and part 2.
Part 1 and part 2. And that's the way they work together, man. You know, when I say a package deal, I mean, you get a lot of value with this because I even have to say that I'm sorry, but you got to throw this one in too, because if you didn't have it, then you wouldn't have the rest of the story. You can't have a story without a beginning.
Yeah.
There was an idea to bring together a group of remarkable people. They could fight the battles.
The Avengers, man, you have to take the Avengers and also Infinity War and Endgame. I know that there's a lot in there, but I'm talking about, you know, as far as historical achievement, you know, what kicked this off and how did it end? You know, with the and here they go. Here come this latte sipping, goddamn cinema snob bitch ass coming in here talking about that ain't cinema. That's just, you guys are suckers for the whole corporate marketing machine. Yeah, so
I like it.
Yeah, I like it.
Never denied that.
No.
Yeah, never denied that, and don't care. And you know what? And there is some truth in that. I mean, let's just, since we're talking about this, let's just not try to defend this too much for, you know, just for the sake of argument and giving people, you know, their credit so we don't have to deal with your ass after talking about this. You're right. There is a lot of commercialism here. You know, one of the things that I recently read about Iron Man, and they talk about how Iron Man didn't kick off the whole thing because they thought Iron Man was a great story of redemption, inner conflict. Not because Iron Man would one day eventually be a great leader. It's because they showed that shit to a bunch of 8-year-olds and they said he looked like he'd make a great toy. That is why. Otherwise, you would have had somebody else kicking the whole thing off.
Sure.
You probably would have had Captain America kicking it off. But Captain America, they say, you don't look as cool to play with.
Yep.
As Iron Man. Not Iron Man, but the Avengers and the Endgame and all this kind of stuff. Anything in between. Anything about Marvel. Anything about superheroes, but it's particularly this. You know, this is this right here. This is 21 films. This is 21 films in the span of how many years?
11.
It was 11. Yeah, 11 years. In the span of 11 years, that ended up, and for the most part was very successful, and ended up leading to this huge conclusion that had an amazing emotional impact on people around the world.
Yeah.
There's no franchise like that where it's so reliant on so many of the past films, but building everyone up to the point when you have an emotional connection to those characters and having the gall to even say goodbye to some of those characters. Like, we can move on to new things in the future. That in itself is really special. You don't see that. So many franchises just rely on nostalgia. It's like, no, we have to go forward with new people.
Closest is probably the Harry Potter franchise.
You know what? I had that up because that's what I thought too. I mean, you and I are thinking just alike because, the Harry Potter series here, man, as far as growing with characters, all those years
that you grow with those characters
that you grew with, there's nothing that comes close except for maybe Harry Potter.
Hogwarts is threatened.
And I almost wanted to include it, but half of it's still in, over other, half of it's in the last decade.
Yeah.
So that's the only reason why I didn't. But that is almost right up there. But if you're talking about a self-contained decade of storytelling, where you grew with those characters. You got to know those characters almost like they were your family by the end of it. There's a business out there that can be argued and questioned and whatnot, but what cannot be questioned is the emotional impact that it had on people all around the world when it came to its conclusion. And say what you will, but when you're emotionally attached to something and it makes you cry and moves you like that, that is cinema at its purest. Let's get into our next film. Now, we were talking about best of the decade, and I've just been bringing up movies that I thought that we might enjoy.
Okay.
That we have something in common.
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
We might have the same
The
choices.
overlap.
The overlap.
Ooh,
I think I might. There you go. The overlap.
You did well, Martin. Good job.
You and the words, Martin. Two great things that go great together. Now, I might deviate away from some of the things that you guys have on your list here.
Sure.
This is something that's a little different, and I can understand like if a lot of people even forgot about this. But as I said, man, these movies are personal for people.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Because anytime you make one of these lists, somebody always comes in like, well, what about this? What about this? It's like, this is my list.
These are my favorites.
Yeah.
So.
And get out my house. I didn't even invite you. But the movie that meant a lot to me from the past decade is an animated film. And it's the only animated film that I have on the list right here. And like I said, it was just something that it did something with the animated family film that a lot of other films don't do.
So, how was the first day of school?
It was
Jesus, Mom! Leave me alone! Just trying to eat dinner. Jesus,
That's
stop
the
my
sequel.
back.
That's the sequel.
What is going on inside their head?
Did you guys pick up on that? Signal the husband.
We don't give a shit.
What now?
Of course, we're talking about Inside Out. Inside Out, for me, was one of the best animated films that I'd seen during the decade, and there were a lot of great movies, man.
There's a lot. There's
a lot. No, there is, and it was. And
it was hard deciding which one.
Yeah, it really is. It really is hard to decide which one. And this one, I had to choose over some others. I mean, I could have chose some others too, but really, this one was so different because there's a lot of movies out there that are animated and animated family films, and they are amazing. But usually they follow the same format. You have a lead character. Our lead characters are either funny or relatable. Are they characters that kids want to be, like a princess or a hero or something? And they go on an adventure journey or something, and they fight a villain. And this movie, for the most part, there might be just a little bit of that in there, but this is the opposite of all that. And during the whole decade, this is the only movie that I know didn't really follow that format where, right down to even your character, your main character in the movie. The main character in the movie is kind of fucked up. I mean, which understandably so. It's like it's an 11-year-old girl that's going through mood swings. Yeah. About to make that awkward transition to being a teenager,
Suffering from clinical depression.
Yeah, at 11, man. I was waiting at the end when they gave her pills. And shit.
I know. Introduced so long.
Now be in the sequel.
How was school today, honey? Fine. Main characters in the movie, which, they're lovable types. They're types that if they wanted to, they could sell toys, which they really didn't do that much of.
They really didn't.
Nah, these main characters, her emotions. The emotions that we all go through, anger and joy and sadness and whatnot, they go on a journey, the point A to B journey, but they manage to avoid the formula that I've been talking about. One of the things I walked out and I said about this movie, I said, there is no personified villain here.
Yeah.
You know, if you go through the movie, it's just, now you could, I guess, if you really wanted to, you could say that this girl is the villain. Her brain is trying to kill these emotions. She murdered Bing Boing, or Bing Bong, whatever. She murdered him. So, I mean, technically she could be the villain, but I mean, there's no personified, no character that's trying to stop them. And I thought that was really brilliant, man. And in the end, the parents, they can sit here and watch the movie with their kids, and they can share an experience beyond laughs or whatever, tears or whatever. They can enjoy this on almost a psychological level. Mm-hmm. We all have these emotions. We all go through them. This is probably one of the most relatable movies for parents to watch with their kids. Mm-hmm. Here's another one, man. I don't know if it's on anybody's list right here, but we're going from family animated film to now some real deep, again, social commentary that goes almost into a depressing area.
Yo! Bro!
Stop! Look at that. And that don't say guilt.
Yeah.
That's what I expected.
Was it Emery? What's his name?
Ethan Embry.
He was great in it for a little part. We're talking about Blindspotting. Blindspotting, it meant a lot to me because, we see a lot of these films, and they're important. Don't get me wrong, I'm not dismissing them. We see a lot of slave movies, civil rights films, and, social movies. They talk about black issues. But now we're seeing these new crop of films that are addressing these issues, these current issues like police brutality from a perspective of not victimhood. Well, maybe right there you got punched in the balls, but not victimhood, but strength and boldness and ownership. And Blindspotting to me is an underrated movie that probably did it. Now, other movies that do it too, but this did it in one of the most energetic and in the most creative ways, and it's also did it in one of the most humorous ways, man. It's choosing humor over real heavy emotions throughout the whole film.
That's the thing. You have that traumatic event happen, and then rather than the movie being all about that, it's about all these other things. A lot of humor, similar to Friday.
Yeah.
In the way a person goes through something, but then they get on with their life, and yet what happened is always in the background.
Manages all these different things going on, and yet it still manages to be powerful and heartbreaking or not be totally depressing. And appreciated that it's not one-sided either. When I say about one-sided is that this is not a movie just about the suffrage of one black male. We're talking, that's not the only story. We're talking about his friend, Calvin, who's trouble, but he's a white character, and his story is just as important as our other character. It's one of the most unique voices to approach these issues of police brutality and racism that I've ever seen. Like it says, it blew my mind when I saw it. And this is a movie that I did watch a couple of times again. Yeah. And I'm kind of rating these things, man. I'm rating them on the criteria of, did I watch these again?
Sure.
Or was I moved that much by them? I got one more.
Okay. There you go.
One more. Now we're back to something that people might actually say, of course, talked about this damn movie so much, of course it's on your list.
I push people beyond what's expected of them.
This is Whiplash, and while I say that Get Out was at the top of my list, I was kind of throwing you a curve right there. As much as I want to say Get Out would be at the top of my list, this is the one that really shook me, man.
This got on my list, and so much of it isn't so much that it's something that hasn't been done before, although it's done very well. But this has one of the best endings I've ever seen.
For me, this is one of the most original stories with some of the most unique characters that I had seen all decade. Now, without getting weird or getting too artsy or anything. Now you have to understand that I went into this not knowing at all what this was about. I almost didn't go. I was like, okay, it's got people I know in it.
Yeah,
I like J.K. Simmons. Miles Teller, he's all right, whatever. But I almost didn't go. And if people were to ask me what's it about, I would say, well, it's about an abusive music instructor who ironically helps a student find his true talent.
Yeah.
I didn't know that going in. You know what the was happening here? I didn't know it. And this scared the out of me when I was so tense watching this. It's a terrifying performance by J.K. Simmons, man. If you ask me, one of the biggest movie villains more than Thanos is him, man. When I was watching this, like, I didn't know what to expect, and the movie's going along fine.
Yeah.
The movie, like, you think that this is going to be the heartwarming story between a gifted protege and this hard but fair,
stern but fair
Stanford music instructor till he picked up that chair. I'm like, mother, you almost hit me. I ducked to the theater like that shit was thrown for real. I'm like, you see this? That scared. That's when I knew. I was like, I don't know what's going to happen in this movie here. I don't know where. I don't know how this movie's going to turn now. He's like, bitch. He's like, bitch, you almost hit me.
Can't even react to it.
He's like,
what just happened?
He's like, can you legally do that? He's like, I want to call the police, but I'm scared of that.
Why do you suppose I just hurled a chair at your head, Neiman?
I don't know.
Jesus, cut this shit off. But he hits me for real. I'm telling you, man, this movie, it was so intense, and I don't even see this as a horror movie, but it had me on the edge more than some thrillers, man. Looking at this, I even see it's a great performance by J.K. Simmons, but you relate so much to Miles Teller.
Sure.
Yeah.
Being put under that pressure, being mentally abused. And he does a great job because you feel for him so much, man. But, one of the things that really stood out to me with this movie was just the technical side that made me put it at the top of my list. It was one of the best edited films of the decade. One of the best edited films of the decade, and it matches because this is really somewhat of a musical.
Oh, yeah.
And a horrifying musical.
that song they kept playing in there, they get it started. He was like, nope.
No.
I just got to where every time it started playing, like, oh, let him finish.
Man, every time. I have the soundtrack to this. I put it on Spotify. And every time I put it on, I'm always looking around. Even when it gets to that part, I have a reflex.
It's funny how you talk about how this movie scared you. Because you have tried to emulate this guy in little ways, and everybody else sees it. You see it, you know what I'm talking about. You're like, I don't compliment anybody.
Yeah, there's Chris Herman right there.
It was in my mind. I get this now. Shit. I can identify Miles Teller.
Chris, are you streaming or are you recording?
I don't know.
I would tell people to go watch this to get a lesson in great editing. And I love this movie, man. This is like my top film of the decade. This is the one I sit people down and make them watch this. And if they don't watch it, I'll throw a chair at their hands.
Perfect.
Well, let's go ahead and move on to some of your movies out there. Let me see. Something that was on the list for both you guys. Do you mind if I start out
Please,
with this
please.
particular
Go ahead.
film?
I'd rather do the things that we all have agreed on.
This is something that you both had in common right here. And again, this is a great movie. And I thought about it. I'm like, maybe I should have put this on my list. It's a great film.
You show me a pay stub for $72,000 on it, I quit my job right now and I work for you. Hey, listen, I quit.
That's Wolf of Wall Street. Jonah Hill is so great in that movie, man. Him and them teeth.
Yeah.
So this is where I hand it off to you guys. Curious. Now, great movie. I love it. Wasn't on my list, but that doesn't mean that I don't love it. Might even reconsider later on. But what is it for you two? Let's start with you, Martin. What is that made this your movie?
It's Scorsese at his best. It's the stuff he did with Goodfellas, except finally not a mob movie.
Yeah. Those might as well be. He's a criminal, even worse than a mob.
Another criminal. With the same voiceover. One of the best casts of any movie ever, and it's McConaughey in his McConaissance just in there. But DiCaprio runs the show. This movie takes you on such an adventure, and with the guy who's so charismatic that it takes you a while before you start going, he's kind of a piece of shit.
Yep.
Yeah.
and it
Jordan Belfort,
yeah,
played by
Jordan
Leonardo
Belfort.
DiCaprio.
Yeah, and it doesn't really shy away from that because it gets revealed over as it goes. Like, yeah, this guy's he's a complete douche.
Yeah.
And it doesn't make him look good. It's not a good tale for him, and yet it's so followable. And on one hand, I feel like the movie's too long, but I've watched it several times, and I just dig it all the way through, and it just keeps turning corners on what's going to happen. It's one of my favorite films.
It's incredibly well paced. Well, I kind of think of it the same way as Goodfellas, where kind of to your point, you were saying that we get to know these guys. We're engendered towards them, even though they are in a lifestyle that is just horrendous. I mean, what they're doing is, it's destroying lives, but we're still following them. We're still invested in their story. We to a certain degree, you like him at first. It's like, yeah, that's the lifestyle I want. That's what I'm going to be a part of. But as the movie goes forward, it tricks you at first, but as it goes forward, it's like, these guys are scumbags. Yeah. This is the worst thing ever. And I didn't like that the movie initially made me care about them in that way, and now it's just shoving in your face. Now this is who they really are, and it's just you have these amazing performances: DiCaprio, Jonah Hill, even people who are in the movie like for 10 minutes.
Yeah,
John Bernthal has a great role in this.
A lot of these movies that might have been on my list,
you saw them once, you never had time. to watch
just didn't
them
have
again.
time to watch them again. So that is something that I might watch and be like, yeah, I need to put this down too. This is, and I don't know if this is on your list, Mr. Herman, but Martin, this was on yours. And again, this is probably something that I need to see again. I saw the trailer. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, this is pretty good too. 12 Years a Slave.
I want to ask you what part of the country you come from.
I originate from Canada.
They'll travel for a slave.
What do you mean by that?
That look,
you even looked at him like, you motherfucker. Tired of this shit.
had it for 12 years.
Now, Martin, why is this on your list for best of the decade?
First off, it's so well put together, and I get not wanting to see slave movies and such, but I feel like if you're gonna watch one, this is the one to watch because of how well it's directed and how it doesn't shy away from the horrors of slavery.
Yeah,
it really puts you there, and I felt so emotional the first time I watched it that I sat in the theater and we had to wait for everybody to leave. And it's one of those movies where universally people see it and go like, "Wow, that was amazing. I can't watch it again."
Yeah.
And I thought that I was like, I don't know if I can watch this again. But they sent us a screener, and my family was watching it, and I kind of popped back in and started watching it again. And since I had some distance, like had already gone through it, just to sit there and watch it, I was like, man, this movie is beautiful.
To put yourself in that place within a scene like that, that's incredible talent.
This movie does its job too good, man.
Yeah.
That's why I can't. That's why it's not in my top. It's not one of my top movies because they did his job way too well. I can't watch this without being mad at this motherfucker. If I watch this again, I'm gonna go to Michael Fassbender's house and beat his ass.
Well, so much about his performance, I mean, at least with his character, is how he is because he's drunk all the time.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I've been around abusive alcoholics, and he nails that.
This movie works way too well for me to ever have to see again.
Well, you have that scene where Simon Chiwetel Ejiofor is when he has the noose around his neck and he's on his tiptoes to keep from strangling. And the whole day goes by with people just carrying out their chores like it was nothing.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Before we leave this segment, is there one more movie you want to throw in?
Yeah, I wanted to touch on Silver Linings Playbook.
Oh,
that's right. You did have that.
Yeah. I either I had it on my list or it was there, and I had to move it off just because of some other things. But
yeah,
I think I might have had it on my list because I was like, man, I rewatched this movie so many times.
Yeah,
it's like my favorite movie I think of that year was Argo, but now I go back and think now Silver Linings Playbook.
Oh yeah. I had Silver Linings first and Argo second.
Yeah. And the reason why I just love that movie so much, I mean, I try to of the three that I picked, Wolf of Wall Street was one of them. That kind of I've thought of that movie as like the superficial what I would want in my life, right? But where the other side of it with Silver Linings Playbook, this is the film I would want, like my heart would want.
Yeah.
Like trying to find true love. This is unlike so many romantic comedies that we are inundated with.
What happened to Tommy?
He died. Please don't bring it up.
Hey, Tiffany. This is Pat.
How'd Tommy die?
That ain't no craziness. That's just being an asshole.
Yeah, it is. It's dealing with very sick and troubled people.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
despite all of that, they still manage to find love, and it might not work out.
Yeah.
Even towards the end of the film, it's like, okay, they're happy right now, but because of their issues that they have, it could dissolve again. But like in this one moment that we saw in their lives, despite all their problems, they came together to accomplish something together in a very beautiful way. Plus, you have Jennifer Lawrence, Bradley Cooper, they have that incredible chemistry.
They really did.
As soon as they walk up to it, it's like, are they just going to start right here or something? I mean, it's just kind of two very
beating the
beautiful
shit out of each
people.
other.
I mean, that too.
Well, probably both.
Yeah. I mean, that'd be hot. I want to watch it no matter what. But no, I mean, all the supporting performances in this, I think this is probably De Niro's best film that he had of that time. Because this decade, he's had a lot of hits and misses.
Yeah,
but I think this is when probably when he was at his strongest supporting performances. I mean, Chris Tucker, coming here. He's in it for very briefly, but every scene he's in, it's like, talk like this. No, he's not. I want to see more of him in the movie. I mean, he was just perfect. Yeah, I just love the ending. It's to me, it is the best. It's my favorite romantic comedy of all time, and the best romantic comedy of the 2010s.
It's funny because I have to remind myself that it's a romantic comedy. I mean, I know it is. It's clearly about
so
these
unlike.
two people. Yeah, it's clear about these two people who are going to get together. Will they or won't they? You know they will.
Yeah.
But there's so much going on, so many legitimate conflicts, and such great writing.
This Wolf of Wall Street appealed to my greed and avarice, and this appeals to what I want to be.
And your insanity,
my
loneliness,
my flaws, but also my idea that I could, despite my flaws, I can find something that's truly beautiful in my life.
Yeah.
And hold on to it.
It gives you the illusion of hope.
Yes, illusion of hope.
Well, I'm glad that you recognize I'm here for you.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Sure thing, Terrence Fletcher.
I'm beautiful and crazy, and I'm here for you.
Yes, well,
Let's
I
be
know.
beautiful and crazy together. Yeah. All right, man. Well, you know what? We'll be following up on this a little bit more. I kind of got mine out the way. I might follow up with the report on. I've watched some of these again. Yeah. I tried, and then because I don't know if I can make it through 12 years again, but the other movies like Wolf of Wall Street and some others that you have.
I have one big one, which is probably my favorite.
We'll save that for next time. Yeah, we'll follow up with these later. I'm kind of done with mine, but I'm eager to hear what the rest of you have.
Yeah.